Let's talk about staying in front of our audience, and not only like how we can do that, but more importantly, why. Because I really believe, as an entrepreneur, it's important we understand why we do what we do in terms of our business, and that's going to allow us to make sure that we follow through with and also understand kind of the methodology behind it, as opposed to just like aimlessly doing something. And I feel like that's a big piece that people miss is, they might learn some education, and could be through an event or a seminar or some educational course, but they don't really understand why it's there and why it's so important that they do that. And also, when you understand why, it really helps in how you do it as well, because you're going for an objective versus, okay, well, I've got to send an email out, multiple times a week. Okay, well, why do we do that, right? So if we don't understand that, it's just like you're doing the action without the foundation behind it. And having the foundation behind it gives you, you can do it with a lot more intention, and it can become a lot more effective as well. So as you've heard me say many times, our role as an entrepreneur is really twofold. If I were to break it down and boil it down, it's, attract and build an audience, and then engage your audience, period, right? Attract, build, and engage. And that's really what we're doing every single day in our business. It's like, hey, can we connect with and find more people that are wanting to do what we can help them with? That's why it's important we understand what we can help people with. If it's more general in the beginning, that's okay. But it's the more we can niche that down to one message for one audience, we can know where to find them, and then they're going to be more easily attracted to us, because they're going to know, oh my God, yes, you help coaches transition to a full-time business. Yes, that's what I want. I want to learn more. So it's very easy for them. The value's there. So that's in terms of attracting, and then obviously building that audience. And then once we got them, once they're in our system, we want to make sure we keep them engaged and we stay in front of them. So that's kind of the shell of this whole thing. We'll go into the why piece when I get into it a little bit more. But so build your audience and then engage your audience. So I'm not going to focus so much on the building the audience right now, but in terms of how do we engage our audience, how do we stay in front of them. And so there's lots of different ways, and I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you a bunch of options, but then I'm going to start off with like what everyone should be doing no matter what. And I'll say no matter what with a little asterisk, because there are different business models that maybe it's not applicable, but I would honestly, I can't really think of one, or I'm not aware of one. And so the biggest and best way to stay in front of your audience is email. And people might have different opinions on this, but email has been around for a while, and it's not going anywhere. And it's by far one of the most effective strategies to stay in front of people. And email is also effective, and also one of the best strategies, because you're not relying on anything else. Like, email is email, right? If Gmail or Google ever went down, I think the world would have to go down for that to happen. But who knows? Well, there's Outlook, there's Hotmail, there. You know what I mean? There's so many different platforms. Email is email, and everyone can always have an email address. So it's your own platform, and honestly, your email database is your business, and you really want to understand that piece, because it's like, no matter what you do in your world or where your business evolves, and your business will evolve over the years, your contacts is your business. I mean, think about even like brick and mortar stores, or anything like that. Like they're a lot of them have been behind the times with email, but if you notice, pretty much everywhere you go, I mean, they're just asking for your emails because they want to stay in front of you. If they can be in front of you, with their emails, with their promotions, with their sales, with their special products that are going on, and all the holiday stuff that's coming around, and more traditional stores like, let's say, a Home Depot or a Best Buy, I mean, they're just marketing sales. Obviously, we market different through education, but from that perspective is that they just want to be in front of their customers. If they don't have brand loyal customers, they don't have a business. And so the more they have a database of people, and the more they can stay in front of them, let's say via email, the more successful they're going to be. And that's really what we're going for. And so to stay in front of our audience, the core way we stay in front of them and keep them engaged is through email. And I'll talk about email for a second. Is you don't want to be sending, especially when you're starting off and, oh my God, I only have like 10 people, or I have no people, or I only have family and friends. You definitely want to start off and find a client database where you can actually send emails and bulk emails out to. There's lots of them out there, like Aweber. Aweber is the one I recommend. There's MailChimp, there's Constant Contact, and then there's a laundry list of providers that will do that. But bottom line is that's where you upload your list of contacts, at least name, email, and then ideally a phone number and maybe some notes you have on them. But you can pretty much upload all that stuff, and then you send emails to them. And what I'd recommend in terms of emails, especially with what we're doing as coaches, is you can have something called an autoresponder. And I'm not going to go too crazy on what that is, but bottom line is basically, like, for instance, if you have a free offer on your website or something like that, where they can enter their name and email address in exchange for, let's say, a free report or a checklist or the top 5 examples of something that's relevant to them. Once they do that, they get automatically added to your database, let's say on Aweber, and you have an autoresponder set up, which means it automatically generates an email that you've created, and as soon as that happens, it sends it out to that person. And then you can have a bunch of emails after that to go out in any time frame you want, the next day, a week later, and you can have it go on as long as you want. That sends automatic emails to that person, and that's a great way to stay in front of people initially. I use autoresponders for my free offer on my website, sellingcoaching.com. So if you went to sellingcoaching.com and you saw right on that landing page, you'll see an offer to get my dog. I have a yellow lab, and there's a picture of myself kind of like sitting there, and my dog's like licking my face. And I'm like, hey, enter your name and email, and you can get this dog, right? And the dog is yours. And I do that for attraction, like to joke around, get people to smile. And I basically, hey, just kidding, you know what? But when you do enter your name and email, you're going to get the ultimate startup guide for new coaches. So when someone enters their name and email, they automatically get an email with a link so they can download it. And then over the next 4 days, I have an automatic email to them that goes out, and it's basically, hey, I noticed, congratulations for doing this. Here's the link. What was your motivation for, wanting to this download? Next day is like, hey, I want to make sure you downloaded it okay. So it goes out, and I keep it short and sweet, and I try to engage them. Especially when it's new, I try to get them to actually watch, listen to, because mine's a little audio and a PDF like resource with it. I try to make sure that they watch it, because the majority of people who sign up for that stuff don't ever really even use it. And I know that if I can get them to actually listen to what I have, because I believe it's very valuable, that they're more apt to be like, wow, this is really good, or now I really want to pay attention to this guy. Now I want to check more out of his stuff. I mean, that's the ideal part of a free offer, is if you can deliver enough value where now you've got their attention from, let's say, an ad or from them finding your site. Now you've engaged them a little bit more to check out maybe some more of the things that you offer. So that's like an autoresponder. And a lot of the emails you see in terms of marketing, and I know everyone listening to this is on, a bunch of different people's and gurus lists where they're getting emails, sometimes even on a daily basis. And a lot of them are just like, hey, I got this really cool thing and the 7 steps to doing this. And they're very impersonal, and they're just salesy, And again, there's nothing wrong with that. However, with what we do especially, when you send emails out, I'd recommend writing your emails, meaning you still write an autoresponder email, but on a weekly basis when I'm sending my emails out, I'm writing my emails. And I really believe with our industry and what I've seen effective is that we really want to share yourself with people. You're not just talking about yourself and all that good stuff, but people want to get to know you. I mean, think about some of the gurus that you follow and some of the big names out there. Some people, absolutely nothing about them other than they're a motivational speaker, or they do X, Y, and Z, or this is their business, or maybe they drive a Ferrari or something silly like that, or maybe where they live. But how many kids do they have? What do they like to do on the weekends? Do they have any hobbies? And the reason I say that for us is that we want people to get to know us, to get to understand us as who we are, so they can start to connect with us. They can find connection points. Oh, you got 2 kids. Oh my God, Emmy, you got 4 kids. Or, you get to relate to people, when you share those personal pieces, and then you can kind of segue into kind of, a lesson or what you're talking about. Like an email I just sent out yesterday promoting this call. I mean, I don't know if any of you saw that, but, I went into it and I'm like, hey, the subject of the email was, if I remember correctly, your business is like running a church. And I basically, I went to my cousin's, he was ordained as a priest 40 years ago, the same week I was born, and he's been doing it 40 years. And it was a big celebration. It was like a wedding. I mean, it was crazy. And as I was there, I was listening, and I was learning, as I was listening to him talk about, the things that he's done over the years. And I'm like, wow, running a church is like running a business. He has employees, he's got overhead, he's got expenses, he's got a network. I mean, Sunday Mass it's a big seminar, right? And as I'm sitting in church, I'm like, damn, it's packed. This church is packed. And it brought me back to the days when I did a lot more live events. Like now I'm 100% virtual. But when I was doing live events, there's nothing better than speaking to a large crowd. I'm fine speaking 2 to 5 people as well, but when you're in front of several hundred or more people, it's awesome, And I was thinking, I'm like, wow, this is exactly the same. So I wrote about that in the email, and so it's sharing. They get to start to see you as a person, what you value, friends, family. They get to know things about you. They get to know the way you think, your philosophy, and even if it's not a conscious thing, they start to understand that through what you write. And that's very important in the buying process. Remember, like I teach the sales process when it comes to helping you transition, because that's one of the biggest skill sets that I found has allowed me to still be in business, like 12 plus years later as a full-time coach. And from a selling standpoint is people got to know you, they got to like you, they got to trust you to get to that phase of considering working with you. And so these emails being personal and real, and I call it live, right? They're live emails because they're written like now, and I send it now, just like I'm typing you an email. So even though it's going to hundreds or thousands of people, it's still a live email, meaning I just wrote it now and I sent it now. Like on Fridays when I send out the recordings, I usually send my emails out like before I get my son from school, about 3:15. And I'm like, hey, I'm getting ready to go pick my son up at school, and we're going to blah, 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 and head to the beach this weekend or whatever we end up doing. But I'm sharing just a little bit about what's going on in my world, and it feels real, it feels live. And so that's how you can engage people more. So when it comes to staying in front of your audience, email is by far the best way, the foundational way. And I would say for everybody, do email. But I would say make your emails real, make your emails live, and make them personal. Always tie it back into something else. You can make it personal in terms of using, hey, I was working with a client today, and one of the things they were saying, you can highlight some of the aspects of your business so people get to know, or more familiar with kind of what you do, maybe what type of results you're getting, but you're sharing it through stories. So it's not like a hard sell in terms of like, hey, I do this, consider working with me. It's like, hey, I was working with my client today, and we worked through X, Y, and Z, so they get a good feel for that. So email is by far the best, still the best, and I know for a while will be the number one platform to stay in front of your audience and keep them engaged. So that's one way. So now there are a lot of other options in terms of staying in front of your audience. I'll start, just rattling off some, and by no means is this a comprehensive list. It's just like some of the things that you probably have heard about or been exposed to, etc. And then we'll talk. We're going to talk about each one of them, but we'll talk about the philosophy behind them. And some of the other ways are obviously social platforms. And there's, I don't even know how many social platforms are out there, but obviously LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. Ideally, you want to find the one, and I say that purposely, the one that where your ideal audience is mostly there. They're going to be obviously in different platforms, but consider this. Which one is the one where they're there? Where you can get in front of them the easiest because they're there in abundance and it's easy to find them, and also then relate it to what are you the most familiar with or can work the best with? And based on the mode of, how you operate, in terms of, do you do videos? Do you write a lot? Do you, things like that. So don't let that be the primary reason, to not learn a new platform. But, if you've never done Instagram before, but your audience is a younger generation, it's like, ooh, Instagram is like where they're at. Like I have a mentoring client right now that I'm working with, and he's actually helping college graduates, helping them promote themselves to create a lucrative career. That's his niche. And so he's on Instagram because he's dealing with, let's just say a 25 to 30-year-old. And for college graduates, he's finding like that's really where they're at. A hell of a lot more than Facebook. Facebook, for someone who's like myself, I'm dealing with a lot more people that are maybe more towards that 30 to 55 range, and that's like more of a Facebook generation. So it's just finding out where those people are at and where that works, but also one social platform. So the worst thing you can do is be like, yeah, I'm on this, I'm on this, I'm on this, I'm on this, and you're just going to confuse yourself and spread yourself too thin and not really gain any traction. So obviously social platforms are a way to do that. And with social platforms, I would highly recommend to find out what they offer in terms of gaining groups, etc. Or so I'll use Facebook as an example. A lot of you know that I have a private Facebook group on Facebook. And if you're not a member of that, you can always check it out. If you go to my website, sellingcoaching.com, right at the top, there's a link that says, check out or join my private Facebook group. So you can check it out that way. But that's what I chose to do as my, the other engagement and staying in front of people. So I always recommend email as a base. And then what's one other avenue that you can kind of like gather a group and stay in front of them with? And so like I use private Facebook group. So I'll use that as an example. I'm not real familiar with other social platforms because I don't engage in them. I'm on some of them, like I have a profile maybe, but it's like I get requests from LinkedIn and Instagram and blah, 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 but I don't do anything on it because I hammer the crap out of Facebook, and I want to get really good at understanding Facebook and ads and just how it all works. And when that's down and it's like I'm the Mac Daddy of Facebook and I'm dominating that the way I want to dominate it, then I can consider maybe going into maybe another market or Instagram or something like that. But find what that is. So if you're on LinkedIn or if you find Snapchat or Instagram, like are there groups, are there social things that you can create that you can invite people to that they're like part of your audience. Like I'm just using that Facebook group as an example. So like they join it and you're connected to them. So in other words, whenever you put out something, whenever you post something, or have an event like the call that I'm hosting right now, right? When I have this call, I can post it as an event in my Facebook group, and every single person in that group gets an email and is notified that hey, there's a call, Tuesday at noon Eastern, selling coaching call, and here's the topic, and even when people are integrated with like Google Calendars. Like it sets up a reminder, like it sets it up as an event on their phone. So I don't know how many people listening to this when, like I know on my phone, it's just like, I don't do anything. I just set the event up on my Facebook group. And all of a sudden it's just like, an hour before the call, a little reminder on my calendar pops up and it says, the Selling Coaching Tuesday call in 1 hour. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. So think about how many, phones right now or in an hour before this call started where people were just like getting notifications who are just in the group, So again, I'm in front of them. I'm engaging with them. Another great thing about those types of platforms, and again, I use Facebook as the example, is anytime myself and or someone in the group posts something, everyone in the group gets an email. They get a notification, right? And it's like, so how cool is that they're seeing, Selling Coaching, they're seeing my name, they're seeing the group. And 90% of the time they might swipe and delete, but as they see it, what that's doing is I'm in front of them. It's keeping them engaged. And so as long as they know, what I'm doing and who I am through that initial engagement, even if they're not involved very much, or maybe years go by and, they're going through some changes and so forth and so on. But for whatever reason, they stay engaged or they stay in the group or they stay on your email list. When you're in front of them on a weekly basis, what happens is one day something changes. One day they see a title to, let's say, a call or something that you're doing, and they're like, oh my God, it's relevant for them. And this goes into the why piece. Is relevant for them because the timing is right. And with anything that I'm talking about in terms of the why, the foundation of why we're doing this is, once we engage with somebody and they become a part of our list or our group, we have to understand the sales process, right? We teach selling here. So, and we're in business. So we're in front of these people and we're helping them, but we want to help them because we're hoping that at some point they will work with us, they'll hire us and buy our product or services because they see enough value in what we do in order to do that. And you have to remember, like, if I'm going to give you a percentage, it's going to be like 4 or 5% of people. It doesn't mean you can't do better than that. It doesn't mean you can't do worse than that. But on average, 4 or 5% of the people will buy. So over that time, so there's going to be a lot of people that are involved that maybe won't ever do anything, right? And they're listening to the calls, they're benefiting from the recordings, and that's all they'll ever do. But it's for the, let's say, 5% of those people at some point, right? They like what's going on, but the timing's not right. And from a sales perspective, it's all about timing. And like I said, they might be on your list for years, but all of a sudden they wake up one day and they go, oh, I'm ready to do this coaching business. Oh, I'm ready to move forward with this. Oh, I'm ready to, get out of this stupid relationship. Or, oh, I'm ready to, you know what I mean? And your email comes in or your notification comes in and with the title and they go, oh my God, Jeff, or oh my God. And they click on it, and next thing you know, they're sending you an email, they're interacting with you, they engage, and oh my God, I haven't heard from you in forever. And several interactions later, you're on the phone with them and they hire you as a coach, or maybe they buy in one of your programs. That's how it works. And that's why it's vital to understand, like, it's a simple why. We have to go any deeper than that, but we got to understand that timing piece. And a lot of people, and I was the same way, a lot of people are afraid, when they're starting off, it's like, oh my God, well, how often do I send these people emails? How often do I, keep in front of them? And you got to be in front of them every day. Every single day, you got to be in front of them in some capacity. And you'll see a lot of marketers, a lot of internet marketers, people that have been doing it for a while. They're in front of you every day. They're sending you emails every single day. I get an email from Sears every day. I get, from like Bed Bath & Beyond. I mean, right? I'm just showing some other businesses, but I'm on their list and I stay on their list because for some reason it's just like every now and then I need something from there. And they have 20% off Bed Bath & Beyond, and I've used that stuff. Or I need something, like I wanted a heat blanket this winter, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, where am I going to go get a heat blanket? I'm on the couch checking my email, Bed Bath & Beyond, 20% off. I'm like, I can go to Bed Bath & Beyond, get 20% off. I went and bought a heat blanket. But if that email didn't come in, I might have gone somewhere else. Or maybe if the Sears email had come in before that, I would have thought of Sears. But that's how it works, like the timing of things. I delete the emails all year, but then all of a sudden one comes in. Our business is no different, right, with what we're doing. So we really want to get that, grasp that, and that's why that everyday thing, it matters. And the cool part about having the two avenues, meaning the email is the foundation, the core foundation, and then maybe another, like one social platform, for instance, where they're maybe getting notifications is. Now it allows you to not have to send an email every day. And the way I look at it is I get emails from, I just follow a few people at a time that are relevant to where I'm working at. And I get emails from them every day. I don't read their emails every day, but I'm involved with their emails, meaning I want to read them, or I save them and I'll read them. And if I get too far behind, I just delete them and just catch right up, when the next one comes in. So you have to remember, like, people are like, oh, I don't want to annoy people, right? I don't want to I don't want to impose on them. I don't want to just, bombard them with emails. Don't just send them emails to send them emails. Talk about something relevant. Give them some information. Tell them a story about what's going on and relate it back to what you do. You don't have to sell in every email. It's just some emails I'll send out, like I sent one last week, and it's just like, hey, you know what? I forget the opening story, but it was just like, you know what? And that reminded me of a video that I did, a couple weeks ago on blah, 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 blah. Click the link to check it out. That's it. That's all it was. It wasn't selling anything. It was just saying, hey, here's a little story of what was going on, and here's a little video. It gets them over to my website, and they might watch, the 2-minute video, whatever it was, and it engages them, or they just delete it. But either way, it's in front of them, and you have to remember, if people don't want you anymore, and if they're not interested in you anymore, they unsubscribe, right? Unsubscribing, initially can be like, oh my God, I can't believe they, came off my email list. Oh my God, I can't believe that. But after a while, it's like you get to the point where it's like, it's okay. If they don't want to be there, don't be there. I want the people who want my information, who want to have my name in their inbox, every day. And the cool part is with the social platforms, as I was saying, is that now social platforms, the cool thing about that is there, for some reason, it's okay to get 100 notifications in a day, right? Some groups or some things like that. I mean, you might, depending on the involvement and the engagement of the group, you might get 100 notifications, and some of them come in groups, but you might get a bunch of emails throughout the day. But you know what? For some reason, it's acceptable. Whereas if I sent you 10 emails in a day, even like just an email from me to you type of thing, you'd be like, oh, dude, who is this guy? Enough's enough. Unsubscribe. But all of a sudden, you get 100 notifications in a day, and it's like, whatever, just delete. Next day, same thing, delete. So social platforms are a great email hack. In other words, it's a great way to stay in front of people, multiple times a day. And it's not even you staying in front of people, because it's other people in the group, posting almost like on your behalf, right? Asking questions, engaging, things like that. So that's a very easy way, using like those two platforms to stay in front of people and keep your audience engaged. And again, like I said, the why behind it really is for the timing of the sale, right? It's because we got to stay in business, right? And so when it's time there, and especially we can stay in front of them. I mean, we do have something going on, like a paid program, or every so often, once every other week, maybe a couple times a month, not very much. Just in the PS, I'll be like, hey, PS, if you're interested in working with me as a mentor coach, consider this, or I'll have a link. So I will promote like that, but it's always in the background, and it's there for people who are engaged and who are reading, and that's a way we can keep our audience engaged. Other quick options, like there's podcasting, there's YouTube, just as another quick couple ways. But again, for instance, like with like YouTube, like if you're gonna do YouTube, like I'm on YouTube because I do a lot of videos, but it's not like I'm building my subscribers on YouTube. I have 30 subscribers. But people that build their business on YouTube, they've got thousands or millions or hundreds of thousands of subscribers, because they market on YouTube. They go for YouTube. You can get paid off of YouTube ads, that you see all the time. Some of the big people on YouTube that have millions of subscribers and get millions of views, they make millions of dollars just from paid ads from their subscribers watching it. Like that's their revenue in their business. So they can do that or monetize somewhere else. But the point is like, if that's an avenue, you can use it just to host your videos. Like I just use it to host my videos to maybe get another traction on the internet, to maybe get more people through search engine optimization, for instance. But either way, it's like I'm just using it as a host. But if you're going to use it as a host, but then bigger than that to get subscribers, focus on that. So email and then YouTube. Or if you're doing your podcast, right, and you're going for downloads, and like on iTunes, for instance, hammer your podcast, right? So do your podcast, and then you can use email to promote and say, hey, I got a brand new podcast coming up. Like I use this call as an avenue to stay in front of my audience as well. It's another example. And then through email, right there, just this call, it gives me 3 opportunities to email people, and also then do posts on social media each week. On Monday, I can, say, hey, I got a call tomorrow. Tuesday, I send a quick email reminder out saying, hey, reminder, the call's in a couple hours. And on Friday, I can send an email out to everybody and say, hey, guess what? Call recording's up, on my university. So just this one call gives me 3 opportunities to email a week. It gives me a reason to email them. I don't just say, hey, the call's there. My Tuesday is just a reminder email. But the other ones, I give some content. I talk about some stories, make it personal. And then I can say, hey, here, check this out. Or here's what we got going on. So again, that's a way we can stay in front of people. And that's so important that we're in front of them all the time, like I said, every single day. And when you find ways, like if you've got a podcast, or if you're posting a video, just content that you're putting in your blog even, a call like this, Maybe you do a weekly webinar. Maybe even you do a weekly meetup. Maybe it's a live meetup. There's a site called meetup.com. And maybe I have some clients that I work with and they set up regular meetups. And so they promote it to their email list and they say, hey, listen, I'm doing a live meetup. You know, for those of you that aren't there, you know, they can always just let them know. They can even record some of the things there, post the recording if they're doing some like a live event. So there's lots of ways you can promote things through email and let people know what you're doing. But that's how they can stay engaged with what you're doing and you stay in front of them.